What's going on? This is another episode of the Mike Styles Experience, and I'm back with another episode. This episode is about recharging your mind. And also, before I get into this week's topic, got a question from a guy. Actually, hold on, who is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's dude from Patrick from Dallas. And oh, by the way, if you want to send me a question or you got a comment or you need some advice or whatever, I don't know, go over to MikeStylesEXP.com to contact me and I'll get back to you. Also, while you're over there, click the donate button on the Ko-Fi donate button. But anyway, Patrick from Dallas, Texas, he wanted to know, well, he says, my son doesn't want to go to the military. He would be the only person in the family who hasn't served. How do I make him go? Well, this is a good one. And being a former soldier myself, I did 3 tours in Iraq, and I figured this question wouldn't be too hard to answer, but here's my take on it. You didn't mention if you served, and I'm assuming since you said that your son would be the only person in the family who hasn't served, you served in the military as well. That's what I'm assuming. But my take on it is that you don't want to pressure your son into doing something that he doesn't have an interest in. You know, what you're trying to do is maintain a tradition that your son doesn't want to follow. And it happens all the time, even outside the military. As parents, we only want the best for our children, or at least I guess that's how it's supposed to go. But sometimes what we think is best for them is only something that we want for ourselves. And it ends up causing them a lot of heartache when they're trying to live up to the expectations of others. And that's something that's magnified times 10 when it's family. You know, your son deserves the right to make up his own mind in life, so don't take that away from him. And whatever his goals are, those are the things that you should support and encourage, as long as nobody's getting hurt in the process. You know, I know for me, my parents didn't pressure me into joining the military or the Army. And, you know, I was the one that actually went to the recruiting station and had the recruiters reach out to my parents. I had to sign, they had to sign a form. Yeah, they had to sign a form because I was 17 at the time. But just imagine that had I been pressured into joining, I don't think that anyone wants to go anywhere or be in a place where they're miserable. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to think about that when, doing something as serious as the military. You know, it's not like a regular job where if you don't like it, you can just say, hey, I'm out, I'm going to just up and quit. You know, it's a big responsibility. So, don't try to push him into doing something that he's not interested in. And like I said, when it comes to tradition, you can't expect every generation that's in your family to maintain that tradition. Somewhere down the line, somebody's going to break that tradition. It might not be, your son's son or daughter. It may be it may be 2 or 3 generations, after you. So that's just something to think about. But anyway, let's get into this week's topic: recharge your mind. And before I get into it, this beat that you hear right now is actually a beat that I made probably about 30 minutes to an hour ago on my phone. And I was just like, you know what, let me just go ahead and put this out here on the show just to kind of see what it sounds like. I don't know. But anyway, there's so many things that compete for our attention in our daily lives. It's hard to keep our minds energized to deal with it all. We run our bodies on empty all the time, but we seem to refuel our bodies when we get a chance with food, drinks. And if we do this to our bodies, imagine how much more our minds suffer. We often forget that our minds, they need to be charged or recharged as well. And it's a part of the body just like any other organ. So why is it that our minds get less attention? We know that stress can kill, but what about our minds? What does stress do to the mind? And the thing about stress on the brain is that it kills slowly. And I believe that when we're younger, we don't really notice how the stress on our minds, how it affects us. And when we start to get older, we then realize these changes. For me, I now realize how less patient I am now than I was when I was younger. I'm no expert, but I think that it somehow has been a result of stress on my mind. And I often find myself worrying a lot more than I once did. Maybe it's because of new responsibilities, changes in environments, or something else. I don't know, but one thing I do know is that it isn't good and the shit is not healthy. I'm always tired after having these mental bouts with myself, and I'm talking about some 12 rounders. And I admit that I come close to losing it at times, but I have to find myself and I have to calm myself down and bring things back to center. Sometimes it might just involve stopping what I'm doing and just having a seat and taking a moment to breathe. So I want to give you some ways you can recharge your mind once you feel like you're losing control. And one of the first things should be a no-brainer, but a lot of times we forget to rest up. Even when you're resting, we sometimes forget to rest well. Rest up and rest well. Because burnout is a real thing. Burnout of the brain is very serious. Think about all the shit our brains try to juggle. You have stuff like work, school, home, family, friends, and not to mention this, the little shit in between. All these things can lead to mental burnout. And sometimes you just have to get some rest. And I'm not just talking about sleep either. And like I said, you can sit still for a moment. And I say that because we're always on the move towards something. Give your mind a chance to rest. Can you imagine actually running 24 hours without rest? That's a lot of that's a lot on the body. And sometimes that's what our minds do. And I know I've been there some nights where I couldn't sleep because I had so much stuff on my brain, and then I had to wake up the next morning at my normal time, and it was like, damn, I was tired as hell. So don't just rest up. Make sure you rest well. And by that I mean taking every resting moment to just do nothing. Don't watch the news. Don't pick up your phone. Don't conduct business. Don't do anything. As your mind goes through this period of rejuvenation, it gets a chance to shut down, store, and process much needed information. So again, make sure that you're resting well. Now, this other thing I was reading, which goes into this next one, I was reading an article that talked about how positive thinking can raise energy levels. And, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? It makes sense, because whenever I find myself thinking about something negative, I'm all down and in a bad mood afterwards. And I believe that positive thoughts can help to energize our minds. It helps us feel refreshed. When was the last time you thought about or read something positive and refreshing? I know it's hard, especially with all the negative shit that's thrown our way every day. But thinking positive thoughts throughout the day keeps our energy levels up, while thinking negative thoughts will bring us down. It's just that simple. If anything outside or inside of your mind comes into your space with negative energy, use positive conversion. Ignore it and reject it. It takes 30 seconds of dwelling on a thought before it seeps into our inner conscious. So when you experience moments of negativity, ignore it, reject it, and then replace it with something positive. And this next one is feed it. Just like you need to feed your stomach, you also need to feed your mind. And I had an interesting conversation with someone who mentioned how he sat down with a good book and read it. And it made me rethink how I was feeding my mind. When was the last time you read a good, positive book? And I think that's something we don't do enough of, which is feed our minds the correct fuel that it needs. Think about it. You are what you consume. If you're constantly consuming a ton of negative shit, then guess what? You're going to be negative. And the same is true if you're consuming something positive. We need to feed more than our stomachs. We already know that television and social media are not good foods for the brain. Television and social media are like what fast food is to our stomachs. And I say that because much of the content out there doesn't provide any educational value, and they won't positively influence your thoughts. How you think is influenced by what you read, see, and hear. Make sure that you're putting the right type of fuel into your mind. Get creative. Be creative, get creative, and use your mind to create something. That's the next one. You don't have to go out and create a Picasso painting. It may be something that you created in your past experiences, which you can use in a new way now. It doesn't have to always be something new, but if you do create something new, make sure you incubate it. Make sure you care for it, nurture it. And I think the beauty of creating something is that it comes from out of nowhere. It's not something that's planned, it's unexpected. And I kind of like that. It's mysterious and unplanned. It just happens. When those moments come to you, it will fill your mind with a lot of energy, as opposed to trying to, come up with something, or force, like trying to force something. And that never works, and it drains your brain. You bang your head against the walls and have all these sleepless nights trying to force an idea or force a creation into your mind. It doesn't help your mind to recharge. Challenge your mind to create. Throw on some music, break out your favorite bottle or whatever you like to drink or smoke, and some paper and a pen, and just allow your mind to escape and go on a mental vacation if you can, even if it's just for an hour or two. Find that creative part of yourself and give yourself permission to be creative. So that's been this week's episode. Like I said, if you want to shoot me a line, hit me up at Mike Styles EXP.com and hit contact the show. And whatever you want to talk about, if you got some ideas or you want some stuff that you want me to research and talk about, I'll talk about it. It just depends on what it is. I have to read the email first. I ain't agreeing to shit before I see the email. But yeah, so when you go to my website, just hit the donate button. I would greatly appreciate it. Trying to raise some money for some new equipment, need some new microphones. We'll see how it goes. It all depends. I think the goal is $200, so it should be pretty simple. But as always, take care of yourselves and Take care of each other. I'm gonna let this beat ride out.